Have you ever come across biblical icons depicting figures like Jesus or the Virgin Mary with darker skin tones, or even Abraham or King David? If not, it's time to look beyond Europe. Russia has unveiled a treasure trove of biblical icons featuring figures with darker complexions. You might wonder if Russia is reimagining biblical figures in its own unique way. The answer is no. These icons are not whimsical creations, but authentic representations with profound historical significance. They reveal hidden truths and spark intriguing questions about history, faith, and representation in religious art. The world's most renowned name, Jesus. As Mark 4:22 says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, nor anything kept secret that will not come to light." For centuries, Western art has often depicted Jesus as a fair-skinned man with a beard, long wavy hair, and blue eyes. But here's the twist: the Bible doesn't describe Jesus' appearance, and all evidence suggests he likely looked quite different from these traditional portrayals. The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are our primary sources of information about Jesus. They tell us that Jesus was a Jewish man born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, which is now northern Israel. By the time he started his ministry, he was around 30 years old, according to Luke 3:23. So, as we explore this topic, keep in mind that our understanding of Jesus' appearance is influenced more by cultural art than by historical fact. The Bible gives us very little detail about Jesus' physical appearance. It tells us that he didn't stand out in any particular way, suggesting he probably had the brown eyes and skin typical of other Jews from Galilee in the 1st century. There are no images of Jesus from his lifetime, and while Old Testament kings like Saul and David are described as tall and handsome, there's little information about Jesus' looks in either the Old or New Testaments. In fact, when Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas Iscariot had to identify him to the soldiers because all the disciples looked alike. The Bible doesn't explain why the disciples resembled each other so closely, or if it has any connection to how Jesus looked. This raises intriguing questions. Were details about Jesus' appearance deliberately left out, or did the authors of the Gospels simply not include this information? The image of Jesus as a white European man has recently come under intense scrutiny, especially in our current era of re-examining historical truths and societal biases. This renewed focus has been fueled by some startling news from Russia. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin made headlines by deciding to move one of Russia's most sacred icons from a museum to a Moscow cathedral. This decision has sparked widespread discussion and debate, particularly in light of Putin's increasing alignment with the church. Putin has ordered the transfer of Andrei Rublev's famous icon, the Trinity, from the Tretiakov Gallery to the Russian Orthodox Church for a year. This move not only underscores the growing entanglement of politics and religion in Russia, but also brings attention to the icon's depiction of the Oak of Mamre, where the 3 angels visited Abraham as described in the book of Genesis. Have you noticed the striking detail about these displayed icons? They're all black, dating back to the 14th century, and have been gathered from private collections across Russia. These rare and thought-provoking masterpieces, many of which were lost during the Soviet era, are truly remarkable. The beauty of these icons is astounding. It's like a visual feast that can give you goosebumps. In a world that often seems draped in gray, this exhibition offers a vibrant and captivating experience. These icons are among the lucky survivors. Without the efforts of dedicated museums, they might have been lost forever. Once there were millions of these icons, but now only about 50,000 remain. The unveiling of these icons is a powerful reminder of the resilience of truth. They invite us to rethink our historical narratives, especially concerning the representation of black figures. Although these icons were obscured for centuries, their rediscovery challenges old assumptions and encourages us to view history through a more inclusive lens. Many Russian icons were either destroyed or sold abroad by Soviet agents, while others were hidden or smuggled out to avoid being lost. Since the fall of communism, icon painting studios have reopened, creating a range of styles for both local and international audiences. Recently, many of these long-hidden or overseas icons have been retrieved. At the Castel San Angelo in Rome, a groundbreaking exhibition is showcasing 40 Russian icons that have traveled outside Russia for the very first time. These icons, concealed after the October Revolution of 1917 to protect them from anti-religious destruction, are making their debut in Italy. Among these, a dozen pieces are being exhibited for the first time ever, appearing in our catalog like never before. Typically painted on wood, Russian icons represent saints or sacred elements and are regarded in Orthodox tradition as divine messages conveyed through the artist's hand. Their deep symbolism embodies the concept of an otherworldly vision, making this exhibition a truly extraordinary event. The wood of these icons, with its gold background and divine light, evokes the Holy Cross, while the cloth attached recalls the covering of Jesus Christ's body. In Russia, these icons hold immense significance, much like the pyramids in Egypt or the temples in Greece. The exhibition offers a rare glimpse into Russia's religious heritage, showcasing icons from the 15th to the early 20th century. This is a unique chance to explore the spiritual essence of Russia through its art. Recently, the focus on these black biblical icons has sparked a global debate. Some argue that the blackened appearance of the icons is due to age, while others believe it represents an accurate depiction of the historical figure's skin tones. As Robert Rubin points out, they were black people. So why didn't their clothes change color in the paintings? He argues that the true Israelites and ancient Egyptians were black-skinned and suggests that the Rishat structure in Mauritania could be the location of Atlantis. Unlike other countries that altered their depictions, the Russians preserved the original iconography. Ancient maps even suggest that the Kingdom of Judah was once in West Africa. After the Jewish nation was destroyed by Titus, millions of Jews fled to Africa, eventually settling in West Africa. From there, they were sold into slavery across the world. This raises the question, is the hatred toward black people simply a coincidence or something more? Some argue that it's not a coincidence. According to the Bible, particularly in Deuteronomy, Moses warned that disobedience to God would lead to losing their land to unfamiliar peoples. This perspective suggests that the animosity may stem from a belief in divine punishment. The hatred directed at the descendants of Ham and Shem, both of whom are depicted as black-skinned, might be rooted in the mixing of these lineages. The belief here is that the primary target of this hatred is actually the descendants of Shem, who are seen as being punished for disobedience. Johnson adds another thought, that black figures in the Bible were portrayed as white in American retellings, distorting their true identities. However, Russians have preserved the historical accuracy of these depictions. If you're curious about this, references can be found in the Bible, such as in Song of Solomon 1-5 and Revelation 1:15, which offer insights into the original portrayals and narratives. If the icons were truly meant to depict black people, the entire image would be black, not just the face and hands. The reason these figures are shown as black is simply because they were black, yet many in the USA have inherited misconceptions from previous generations, so deeply ingrained that they accept falsehoods as truth, even when the real information is readily available. But why would you look for it? The recent Russian revelations are challenging these long-held beliefs. Under President Putin's leadership, Russia has been unveiling remarkable biblical paintings from as far back as the 1400s, including works by Father Vladimir Ivanov. This collection, which features black icons, is highly sought after and can cost between $1,300 to $3,000, a rare treasure. It is alleged that there's a portrayal of the Transfiguration of Christ featuring black figures in caves, something many in America might never encounter in traditional educational settings. Similarly, the depiction of Christ's crucifixion includes black angels and bystanders, presenting a stark contrast to the images most people are accustomed to. These historical revelations from Russia challenge our conventional understanding and reveal a perspective that's often missing from mainstream narratives. As I mentioned before, images like these are often overlooked by black people in America, and by people in general. Many, regardless of nationality, may not realize how extensively black people have influenced and populated the world throughout history. The black icons from Russia, showing figures like Jesus in roles of power and authority, challenge the traditional views of history and highlight the significant presence of black individuals in antiquity. These images, including those from the 1500s and 1600s, are featured in a highly sought-after book that delves into the history of black people in Russia, Italy, and other parts of Europe. This book offers depictions of black figures in biblical scenes, a perspective rarely covered in American education. The authenticity of these icons is still a topic of debate. Alex Pismini, a software developer and Catholic Christian, has insights on this subject. He points out that Russian Christians adopted Byzantine Orthodoxy in its entirety, which plays a role in the rich history depicted in these icons. Orthodox iconography holds to a strict principle: icons should remain unchanged. These portraits of Christ, the Virgin Mary, and other saints are meant to be faithful representations, adhering to a fixed Byzantine style. This includes specific rules about styling, mood, garments, and gestures, which are collectively referred to as the iconographical canon. Interestingly, this canon wasn't always formally approved through ecclesial processes involving bishops and councils. As Russia continues to reveal these historical treasures, the quest for truth endures through the murkiness of history. Recently, there have been calls in the US to remove Confederate statues, with activist Sean King even suggesting that murals and artwork depicting a white Jesus should be taken down. His concerns about these images supporting white supremacy echo broader calls from scholars and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who have advocated for a re-examination of Jesus' portrayal as a white man. On June 22, 2020, activist and writer Sean King stirred up quite a discussion when he called for the removal of statues depicting a white Jesus. In his tweet from that day, King pointed out that historians believe Jesus likely resembled the people of the Middle East during his time, not the white figure often portrayed in Christian art. King argued, yes, I think the statues of the white European they claim is Jesus should also come down. They are a form of white supremacy, always have been. He added that when Jesus' family needed to hide, they went to Egypt, not Denmark. Tear them down, he urged. His remarks quickly faced backlash from some on social media, including prominent conservative voices. King clarified that his call for removal was a response to a tweet from Prageru, a nonprofit co-founded by conservative talk show host Dennis Prager. He also argued that stained glass windows and other images depicting a white Jesus and his white associates should be removed, calling them racist propaganda and a blatant form of white supremacy. Sean King stirred up a fresh wave of discussion when he shared an image of a darker-skinned Jesus from a 2002 Popular Mechanics article, suggesting this portrayal might be more accurate than the common European image. King remarked that such an image would have been unacceptable to white Americans involved in slavery, who couldn't have a figure like this at the heart of their faith. Experts generally agree that this darker-skinned portrayal is closer to what Jesus might have actually looked like. The idea of a black Jesus was too radical for those who exploited Africans for centuries, making it impossible for them to accept such a representation in their religious practices. On June 23, 2020, just a day after his call to remove white statues of Jesus, King reacted to a tweet by Jenna Ellis, a lawyer for President Donald Trump, who warned against efforts to cancel Christianity. While it's unclear if Ellis's tweet was a direct response to King, King retorted that what Ellis was really defending was her own version of whiteness. Christian whiteness needs white Jesus, King tweeted, suggesting that the issue wasn't about generosity or protecting the vulnerable, but about maintaining racial identity. It's about more than just images. It's about the very essence of whiteness. To challenge the depiction of a white Jesus is to challenge the core of some people's faith. Amid the ongoing protests against racial injustice and police brutality that began in 2020, many statues have been torn down and destroyed. While the primary focus has been on Confederate statues, figures from early American history have also faced removal. This movement to topple and deface controversial statues has gained momentum not just in the UK and Europe, but also in the US. Public opinion on this issue is split. Some view it as a necessary step to combat systemic racism, while others see it as an example of mob rule. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, has weighed in on the debate. In a BBC Today program interview, he was asked whether the Western portrayal of Jesus needed to be re-examined. Yes, of course it does, he responded, noting that Jesus is depicted differently across various cultures around the world. He regularly communicated with Anglican leaders worldwide who didn't depict Jesus as white. In their churches, you might find a black Jesus, a Chinese Jesus, or a Middle Eastern Jesus, portraits that are closer to historical accuracy. Welby explained that while these images are not the focus of worship, they highlight the universal nature of God, who became fully human. Addressing the debate over monuments linked to Britain's imperialist and slave trade past, he mentioned that statues in Canterbury Cathedral would undergo a thorough review. The question of whether these statues should remain is certainly valid, he said. We're looking closely at their context and deciding if they should stay. The recent unveiling of these black icons is a potent reminder that history can be obscured, but truth has a way of breaking through. These artifacts invite us to revisit our understanding of the past and question long-standing narratives. If these paintings are confirmed as authentic, they reveal a hidden chapter of history, challenging us to rethink how we represent the past. This discovery highlights the power of truth, breaking down long-standing myths and urging us to reassess the narratives we've held. And that's a wrap for this video. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing content coming your way.